Hello, everybody, and welcome to CLCI Live. To quickly answer Brooke's question, the absinthe fountain will go in the display cabinet area. That's
Oh, okay, great.
yeah.
But wait, I'm sorry. What is an absinthe fountain?
For viewers at home, an absinthe fountain is a little contraption that's like glass that you have cold ice water in it, and is it the it drips? Yes, you have a glass of absinthe. It drips drop by drop, little cold drops of water over a sugar cube, and it helps dilute and add sugar to your absinthe. That's what an absinthe fountain is. For the viewers, though, we are not big drinkers, so don't think that you just picked up on an alcoholic
So wait a second.
anonymous.
Why do you have an absinthe fountain?
It's just a
If
really
Brooke
cool
has
thing.
one because we break it out for like Halloween and for like parties sometimes.
Oh,
Big
okay.
fan. I got her it too.
Okay.
And because I used to distill a little, and one of the things I intended to distill one day was absinthe. So
Okay.
We do have a possible area for distilling alcohol.
We didn't
underneath
say
the house.
that. We would never do that. That is completely against the law, and we would never do any such things.
So, like,
I was
if,
always distilling within the bounds of a distillery, and
if the viewers would like some CLCI branded alcohol, shoot us a
Yours,
email.
also
Oh my
full of
goodness.
malarkey.
Okay, back to the main topic at hand. It's CLCI Live. Thank you for showing up, everybody. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, and interact with us on Facebook and YouTube. We'd love to answer your questions and interact with you.
is Anthony's audio quiet, or is it just?
It's bouncing in and out.
Yeah.
It goes in and out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I got to turn the gain up a little bit,
Yep.
but not so much that I'm echoey.
Yeah, you don't sound echoey. No.
You're louder, but that's fine.
Well, we're
I
talking
think you
coaching skills.
Just make sure you're being mindful of where you're talking. I think if you talk too far away from the mic, it gets quiet is all. So
Is this
Anyway.
better?
much better.
This is our first time, apparently.
Yeah.
We're talking coaching
Never
skills
done this.
101. I'm not going to be the one who's coached or being coached, so I don't have to talk so long.
True
But-
story.
Coaching 101. Jerome, what is the title of this video called again? Oh,
Sorry, sharing the video. Today we are going to be speaking about using concise reflection in your coaching sessions.
gotcha. Concise reflection on the part of the coach.
Mhm.
What does that mean to all of you, being concise? I know it's difficult for some of you to be concise, Brooke.
You're muted.
It's true. It really is, and I'm a little concerned that I'm the one coaching and demoing this skill because it's definitely something I'm still working on. I'm not the best at this skill yet, so
I think you'll do fine.
Yeah,
You'll be fine.
I talk a lot. I'm long-winded, so
You did not answer my question. What
Oh,
does
I'm
being
sorry.
concise? What does being concise mean?
maybe somebody
You're-
else should answer it.
I mean, I think it means pulling the most impactful or, most like the meat of what the person's saying. So, how can you take what they just said, which is a lot usually, and kind of just streamline it down into something concise so you can reflect it, so you can get confirmation that that is what they're saying, so the client can be seen, heard, but not be thrown off by your reflection being too wordy, because if your reflection is too wordy, sometimes that can actually cause issues. You can kind of lose the client. Also, a client that's a people pleaser will potentially just nod or say yes when maybe you've said something completely off. So we have to just be mindful that the concise reflection typically does help the coaching be more, I don't know, what's the right adjective? Concise, yeah.
Yes.
Less is more.
Yeah.
So the client doesn't need to hear all the does and the ands and all the descriptors and all of the, again, it's just take the meat of it, like you said, and shorten it to the impactful bits and reflecting that back. So yeah, exactly.
I'm going to give my 2 cents from a copywriting perspective. Being concise is very hard, even when you have, theoretically, an unlimited amount of time to write out your message, because you're trying to provide the most information in as little words as possible. And sometimes you can be too concise, or it's not you're concise, you're being, what's the word? Maybe overly subtle or vague. You're so concise and you're offering so little information that it leaves a little too much room for interpretation, versus the opposite, where you're providing so much information, you're so detailed that it's overwhelming. And maybe your concise to you is a little verbose to someone else, or a little vague to someone else. So it's not a hard and fast science, in my opinion. It's an art form that you need to constantly perfect and tweak and adjust your message.
And it's different. I mean, we're talking about coaching, not just in general writing and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
With coaching, you're going to need to adjust that based on the client's feedback as well.
And now the other portion of what we're talking about, concise reflection. What is that reflection piece in coaching?
I mean, I feel like you'll see it. But it's when we're just sort of repeating back what our clients have been saying to us, or, mirroring what they're saying, just letting them hear themselves through somebody else's voice, I guess might be a good way to say it, or through the coach's voice.
Is it that distillation of like the message, when there's like if the client has a very long train of thought, the coach comes back and says,
I mean, it can be the distillation. It can be a number of things. It can be one word. It can be, it can be a highlight of something that is standing out, or that the coach has heard and wants more information about, or is curious about. So if somebody uses the term always, I'm always late, we would reflect back always.
What would be a
distillation? It's a single word at that point. So
what would be a non-concise way of doing that? Like, what would that look like if
is it true that you are always or late all the time? It's
like that nerd meme where it's like, actually, it could not always be always. That is physically impossible.
Exactly. This is a skill that is definitely for somebody who is more verbose and tends to talk more. And even when I think I have done well at it, I find I can do better. So it's definitely something that I am still learning and practicing, and I haven't mastered by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm excited to see if there are moments where you guys are listening and go, hey, you could have been more concise right here, or something along those lines.
Or, hey, you were incredibly concise when you reflected this.
Little too concise. Could have expanded on that a little bit more. I think, are you guys ready to jump in the coaching session?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, might as well.
We will turn off our cameras and mics and let you guys have at it.
Hello, Jen.
Hi.
Are you ready to get started?
I am ready.
All right. Well, what would you like to work on today?
So, hi, Sue. Sorry. I'm going to be so distracted if anyone types in the chat. I just realized.
Why don't we close are you capable of closing your chat so we can be free of distraction?
Yes. How do I do that, though? Hold on a second. Yeah. Okay, I got it. Okay. Much better. Much better.
So what do we want to work on?
I would kind of like to talk through something that I'm noticing. It's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. I'm just going to try. I haven't talked it out, so this will be the first words I put to it. It's like I'm noticing that I am at the end of what to me looks like a season with things I've been doing, and I'm ready to step into a new season. I see it. It's like right around the corner. But I'm also noticing that I have really enjoyed this season that I'm currently in, and I'm feeling myself like kind of clinging to it. And I'm noticing like I don't want to leave it, even though I do, because I know I have to. I say that as I say that, I know I have to. We could probably explore that. I feel really comfortable in this current season. And so I'm just noticing myself kind of having an attachment to it, and then a resistance towards entering the new season. And I would like to kind of sort through that and get clear on that and decide how I want to think and feel about it before I actually do that.
So you want to get clear on how you feel about leaving this season of yours.
It's more about I kind of want to understand myself in it. I want to understand what is going on for me a little more clear as I am about to leave a season and enter a new season.
So within the bounds of this session, what does that understanding and clarity look like?
Well, I mean, right now it's just kind of like nothing's clear. It's just like a swirling of kind of frantic energy. And I think that there are some things that could be picked apart, teased apart, that I could then, I don't know. I just know that I can feel differently just by talking about it. So yes, within the bounds of our session, I'm looking to just kind of diffuse the energy that I currently feel about this. And I'm hoping by the end of the session to feel more like invigorated or refreshed or rejuvenated.
So may I ask, what is important about this feeling?
It's kind of feeling like a block. If I don't address it, I can see myself just being guided by it. And it will end up being a block if I don't clear it out. That's what I'm sensing about it. So it's important, because if I don't sort through it and clear it out, then I'm probably not going to take action on the next season.
So within this session, you would like to explore these feelings, this moving into a new season, to have more understanding, so that you can remove this feeling of what feels like a possible block, so that you can feel invigorated and ready to embrace the new season.
Yes. Yeah.
Where would you like to begin?
I don't know. I am the client that says I don't know. Give me a second. Where do I want to begin? Yeah, it's funny. It's like, even in hearing that question, I feel that block immediately. Is like, no, don't talk about it. So even that question is like, kind of bringing that to the surface even more. which tells me that it's okay. So there's a lot of discomfort. That's the first place to start. So there's discomfort around the new season is going to involve a lot of new things. It's going to involve a lot of mistakes, naturally. It's going to involve a lot of lessons. Great. I love lessons. But there's going to be required discomfort. This is how it always is for me. When I do something new that I've never done before, I am extremely uncomfortable in the beginning. I felt that way when I first started working here. I was extremely uncomfortable, but I knew that was just part of the deal. And sure enough, here I am, it feels like home. Well, how did I get there? I just had to trust the process. I have to just trust the fact that on the other side of the discomfort is something great. So the discomfort is the first place I want to start.
Okay. How do we explore this feeling of discomfort?
I think there's there's a willingness that's not fully present, where there was, like when I first started at CLCI, when I first got certified, when I first, started coaching, and I was coaching for the first time, and I was like so wildly uncomfortable during all of it. But there was like a willingness to be uncomfortable because I just full on trusted myself, and I full on trusted the process. And I don't know, there's just so much trust. Interesting, that's coming up. So that's what's lacking right now. I'm not feeling a willingness because I'm not feeling that trust. I just took a big sigh because it makes sense. That's already making me feel better because, okay. Yeah, of course that there was like this resistance, and yeah, okay. So trust is now the thing that I'm seeing, but I'm not sure where to go with it.
I noticed you shook your head a little. You said trust.
So that must have been a judgment. Like judging myself for not just trusting. That's probably what that was, which is also good to know, because anytime I'm judging myself for what I'm experiencing, that is never really helpful. So, so I'm not fully in like trust of the next season, of what I'm going to be doing, and that's okay. I'm not going to judge myself for that. As I say that out loud, I'm wondering if that's true. I'm not going to judge myself for not trusting this next season.
Tell me about what you're feeling.
It's like a dueling thing. So it's like part of me is like, what's your problem? Like, you know how to do this. Just do what you've always done before. Stop being such a baby about it. And then this other part of me is like, it's okay. Like, so one side is kind of tough love, and then the other side is kind of soft. And it's like, yeah, of course, it's totally okay. And I'm not sure. I don't think either of them are the best option. I think somewhere in the middle is best. So I don't really like the sound of either of those voices right now. So I think kind of what what's coming forward now is the reality of I don't trust. And how am I supposed to become willing to be uncomfortable as hell if I don't trust the process? So it would be like a client who doesn't trust the coaching process, and comes to the session and they're not willing to trust it. Like, how they're not coachable. They have to be willing to trust the process. I'm that client right now for myself. Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. That's not the end of the world. I'm not going to beat myself up over that. I think both of those voices that came up have some validity. I do think that it's okay, but I also think that there is some tough love here that's needed, which is, hey, you totally got this. You've done this before. Just go have fun. Like, screw it. Who cares if you make a fool out of yourself? That will be better than not trying. You know that. Just kind of coached myself.
How do you feel?
Good. I'm glad I found that middle ground. That feels like sturdy. And I've used that word in our coaching before, I think. That feels like a voice I can trust.
Mm. That word trust again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's interesting that I just paired it with the voices in my head. I just have a very clear understanding that everything I hear in my head is not necessarily mine, or that it's mine maybe from another time period in my life, like another version of me, like a lesser, like a less confident version, a less wise version, and that's fine. So that's what I mean for anyone viewing this and thinking that I'm nuts. Yeah, so I feel like we just kind of got me to realize, well, of course, I'm not trusting the voice that's kind of being a little hard. And I'm also not trusting the voice that's being too soft. And ultimately, I need that sturdy voice in order to get me through this. That's pretty big. It's funny because it's like, how could I not get to that on my own? There's the judgment. But that's the beauty of just having the space held for you. Like, I couldn't do this for myself because I wasn't willing to sit down and put this type of, I don't want to call it pressure, but it does feel a little bit like pressure. Like, we put me in the Instapot, like, and said, okay, Jen, let's figure some stuff out. Like, I wasn't willing to do that. So that's the beauty of the coaching, is that that's what we just kind of did. Okay.
How do you feel?
Relieved. Relieved because it was so much bigger. It was so much bigger in my head before we started talking. And just in the short amount that we've been talking, it's like shrunk. And it's no longer like over me. I'm picturing like a big looming shadow over me. That's what it was like. And now it's like, we shrunk it to like this little miniature figurine. And it's like, oh yeah, I can put it in my pocket. Like, it's not a thing anymore. I just have to keep going with finding that voice when these other voices are trying to essentially drive me, because they're not reliable. Neither of them make me feel sturdy. The harsh one and the judgy one, that doesn't help. And then the softy doesn't help either. It's like the wise coach voice within me. She's a badass, and like I need her bad. That's who I really need to trust that I have access to. Yeah.
May I ask how you're going to tap into this wise badass?
I think it's just a matter of whenever I sit down to do things that I know are moving me into the new season, to kind of be ready for each voice to appear and then go, okay, I hear you, and I'm going to choose, that third party that I know exists. So how do I do it? It's by anticipating what I've been experiencing and just not knowing, to reoccur, which is the harsh voice and the soft voice, and then just knowing that I can access the wise voice, and that's who I need. That's the voice that I had before I've done anything new for the first time. That voice has always been there. It's like I just kind of forgot that she was there. I just kind of forgot that I had access to it, which is so just silly to me.
What's this laugh about?
I'm just laughing at myself because I'm just ridiculous sometimes. Like, ridiculous in a good way. I don't mean it in a bad way. And just like, I don't know. Like, I'm amused by myself sometimes with just how, it sounds so silly. It's true though. Like that was just something that, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just, I feel so much lighter all of a sudden. Like when we first started, this was so heavy and I was so scared of it. And it's really not scary at all. I've done it before. I know what to expect. I know the strategy, and it's just a matter of, I think about what's like a tool that I can use in case I forget my strategy, because that happens. But to be honest with you, I don't even feel like I need anything. I just need to, I need to write about it and like anchor it in with writing. That is another way that like I can kind of create some sort of memory of this session, of what's come forward here. So that needs to happen for sure.
When do you want that to happen?
That needs to happen when I clock out of work tonight. Yeah.
So circling back to this exploration of emotion and feelings, you had said that you wanted to explore these emotions in order to feel lighter, elated. And I'm just wondering where we are at with this exploration.
I feel like we got the gist of it so quickly, and I feel like I understand it so clearly, and I'm so thrilled that it's so much smaller and manageable than I was making it out to be. And it's also such a powerful lesson for me, just as a coach, just having that experience myself. Again, it just reiterates my belief in the coaching process. So we did really good.
Is there anything else that you would like to explore before we end our session?
How much time do we have left?
I think we have a couple minutes, a few minutes.
Couple minutes. Okay.
Approximately 3 or so.
Okay. Is there anything left? There was one thing, and I think it's really just I need to say it out loud, and that is there's a little bit of like, I call it learned helplessness that can kick in for me when I do new things. It's like this freak out panic moment of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to figure this out. I'm stupid, blah, blah, blah. And then I just can kind of feel a lot of overwhelm and I can shut down. And the only way for me to prevent that is just to know that it's coming and to just, again, trust that wise voice can carry me through that. I had something so small the other day that I saw somebody do. It was like a tech thing. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I wish I could do that. And I literally like looked it up and figured out how to do it. Granted, the first couple times I tried, I was wrong. But the third time I got it right. And I figured it out so fast. And I was so proud of myself. And it was for like the most ridiculous, like random tech thing. Like, and I was so excited about it. And I remember thinking like, that's it. That's what you do with everything. Like you just trust that you can figure stuff out. And you just, when you want to figure something out, you can go do it. And when you're spinning your wheels, that's when you know you need that wise voice more than ever. And it's like, just go back to that sturdy, grounded feeling of like, okay, you got this. You can figure this out. You figured stuff out before. What's your next step? I mean, it's like my coach voice, I guess. So yeah, that part is important too for me, is to just know that learned helplessness hamster wheel that I can hop on, that's coming, and I'm going to have an invitation to hop on it and just spin out, or I can trust that the wise voice can guide me, because it does every time. I just have to remember to access it. And that's why I'm going to be writing this down when I clock out of work tonight.
Trust that the wise voice can guide you.
Yeah, she can. Yeah.
How do you feel?
Complete. Yeah.
Is there anything else you need?
No. I'm ready to put this into action.
Amazing. All right. Well, let's bring everybody back, shall we?
Yes, bring everybody back.
Thank you guys.
That was coaching skills 1-on-1, 1-on-1, and 1-on-1.
Thank you guys for volunteering and being vulnerable in front of everyone. It's always such an honor to watch. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, for being willing to be coached.
Yes, and thank you for coaching. It was awesome.
So concise reflection.
How'd I do?
I noticed some. I got one example I can think of. You guys have some as well. Brooke, I noticed you concisely. There was a lot of holding the silence. The 80-20 was a lot of good stuff, which helps out with being concise. But you would offer a quick reflection. Well, either Jen's facial expressions. You said at one point, you're like, I noticed you shaking your head in conjunction with whatever Jen was saying. And then you just asked into that. Very quick, just reflection and then question, open-ended question. There wasn't a whole lot of maybe speculation on what that head shaking was. You weren't offering your opinion. You just notice something and then ask Jen to sort of explain what was going on in the background. Where maybe somebody who was not so concise might say, "Oh, Jen, I noticed you were shaking your head. Could this possibly mean that you're not,
Mm-hmm.
agreeing with like you would?" Someone might offer their own interpretation and
Yeah.
maybe even ask for, "Does that sound right?" Or
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong. Um,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Brooke didn't do any of that, and I guess it's a lot about what you're not doing, which is important, rather than what you are doing when being concise. That was my non-concise observation.
Thank you.
So Sue put in the chat about the ability to coach someone and not know the details.
Mm-hmm.
And that concise, I'm going to throw it in there, that concise being able to coach and not needing to know is an important factor in any coaching session, because we don't need to know what those details are. We may be curious what they are because we're human.
Right.
But if it doesn't serve the client, there's no need to ask into it.
Yeah, what do we call that in coaching? Nosy curiosity. We don't want that.
Yeah. With as she was setting the marker, competency marker 3 in there, that reflection, she had asked brief questions, had even more brief, consistent question in the very beginning, but then pulled it together and gave a little more detail in the concise reflection of setting that contract and what you wanted to accomplish. I see Jerome's head shaking. What did you notice, Jerome?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of exactly that. I thought that was a really concise session. She started off concise with that question or that reflection of kind of what Jen got to when they set the session contract of how do we explore this feeling of discomfort, and then by holding silence, holding that space, kind of utilizing some of the stuff that Anthony mentioned, she was able to allow Jen to guide herself to the answer that she initially asked, which came out to another concise answer, or a concise answer, which was that the wise voice can guide you. So I think that was just a really great, concise start to it, and a great, concise, consistent finish to it as well. And again, that space that you're holding, I think Anthony was kind of speaking on that. I think that's really important too. That's something that maybe we don't think about a lot when it comes to being concise, but it allows your client to speak and to think for themselves in that moment of conciseness.
Yeah, one thing I really appreciate, Brooke, about you as a space holder is, and we've worked together before, so you know kind of how I am, but I never feel like you're ever trying. I just feel like you're fully present, and you allow me so much, like you trust me fully. I feel that you trust me to do my own work, and you don't interject with things when I'm thinking and I'm getting clear on things and things are coming forward from, like, you give me all of the space that I need, and not everybody does that. And that's really powerful, because now I feel like, so I leave the session knowing that, like, that's all me. Like, I did that. Yes, you were the facilitator of the space, but like all that was mine, and I feel that and I own that, and that is really empowering as compared to where you were giving me stuff, you were giving me things to think about. It's a very different experience. And I'm not saying, that if you offer things for the client to consider or think about, that's bad per se, but it for me, I do well when I'm given a lot of my own space, and you do really, really well with that.
The cool thing that you just described is she didn't need to be interesting. She was interested in what you had to say and where you wanted to take this. Brooke, I saw you unmute yourself.
Again.
You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Nope.
No, back to being muted.
I absolutely love what you said there because I have ADHD and I can sometimes be hard for me to listen without interjecting. But with coaching, I have really I've trained myself in ways to like settle in, and then I find if the more focused I am on what Jen is saying, so it's where I just become very like, I'm going to sit and I'm going to listen and I'm going to focus on what she's saying. And I don't want to miss any detail. And that helps me just be quiet and like, just be curious. I really am. It's me being curious and allowing her to explore and not wanting to interrupt when she is thinking, I don't want to. I want to let that process happen. And I do that with all of my clients. And sometimes, especially early on, they don't know what to do with that space. And it's always interesting to see them squirm a little bit because they will, expecting me to give an answer, me to interject, and I will just be quiet and let them squirm. Because I think they learn a lot in that moment. And also I learn sort of where they're at emotionally in those moments because, it forces, I think, them to not be distracted by other things, but be able to turn inwards. And it's something I enjoy doing. And it's something that I probably can do in no other situation, which is funny. It's like I have such a hard time with that in conversations outside of coaching, but in coaching, for some reason, I am able to just like shut down the distraction and focus in on the client.
There's really something to be said though about that squirmy moment where you're not saying anything, and I'm realizing like, oh, I need to do my own work here. Like that to me, that's what I meant like about the pressure cooker of it. It's like we put this pressure on me, but it was good pressure. It was like, I needed it. And it allowed, stuff that I was maybe afraid of or unwilling to acknowledge to come forward because of that silence. And I mean, who else gives you silence in your life? There's not that many people. Everyone's trying to fix, everyone's trying to save, everyone's trying to help. So that's powerful.
I was just thinking about, as you were sharing that, I think also when the client learns that they are able to have that space, I think it becomes really important to them as well. And they look to have the ability just to be quiet in themselves and be able to share out loud what's going on. I think, yes, at first it's really not normal and can be uncomfortable, but once they get into it, I think it's a journey that they appreciate.
I don't think it's you just answering a question to answer a question, because the session is about you. So it kind of allows you to really answer honestly about what you want to say when responding to a particular question.
Oh, hi, Misha.
Hey, we all got silent. We're all thinking.
I was unmuted. I was like, hi, Misha. I didn't see her. Hi, Misha. Good to see you. There was a question in there, which is funny, that at which point I asked it, and my Misha rang in my head. And I was, you probably should have worded that a little bit differently. And that was it was where I think it was a moment where I said, tell me more about that, or something where I used the word me. And I do that on occasion, and sometimes it's not the best approach. Sometimes it's better to reword that. So, because we want it to be about the client. So it's just something that rings in my head. And I heard Misha's voice, a little Misha on my shoulder.
So what would you have rephrased that to, you think?
Instead of tell me more about that, or
yeah.
can you explain that better to me or something? I said something, explain that to me or something. I think I said, can you explain that to me?
I don't remember you saying that.
There was a moment, because I remember very specifically, and all I had to do was leave the me out, right? Can you explain that? Or can you tell me more about, or tell me more about as that is one thing. It's that I ended it with me. It was like, explain it to me, or, and I can remove that and just say, would you explain, or can you explain, or
I like, can you share more about that?
or can you share? Yeah.
Or can you say more about that?
There's lots of,
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. There's lots of different ways to word it. And I think that was something that was a space that could have been better. Not that, I mean, that's me being really picky, but it's me also being very trying to tune into that awareness around creating codependency with our client and not wanting to do that, and wanting this to be an somewhat autonomous situation for our client, where it's not their job to explain it to me. It's their job to explain it to themselves.
Misha says, tell me more is always good as long as you're not attached.
Yeah.
Please tell me more, please. Do anything.
I like that. I like Sue's suggestion. Yeah. Talk about and then whatever. So talk about your trust there.
Can you freestyle on this topic a little bit more? Tristan asked an interesting question. Do you sometimes need, as coach, to explain the process? Like, I'm staying silent because ... My gut reaction is to say that there's two ways to go about this. It's probably thinking black and white, but you're either trying to validate yourself as a coach as you are coaching, and you're trying to make it okay that you are doing a little coaching maneuver, and maybe asking the client's permission to do so. I've done it before where somebody was not familiar with the coaching process in general, and they were asking questions like consulting questions or asking my advice. And then I would need to kind of break the fourth wall a little bit and explain what the coaching process is like and what I'm trying to do as a coach and what I can't do as a coach. Do you guys have additional thoughts on that?
I think if you're concerned about that, you put it in your coaching agreement or like your welcome packet. Make sure you give them all of that information up front if for any reason you are concerned that this person doesn't really understand what coaching is.
I think there's times, though, that you can't answer everything about coaching in a contract, right?
And I think
that, well, in the first session, answer all of that. So
I'm also, to add on to that too, yes, and there's a difference between reading something and understanding and going through the process of it. So you might, I have explained to my clients, every single one, what it is and how the process works and what coaching is. But once it's a new understanding when you're actually in it, practicing it, right? And doing being coached. And so I've had moments in that where clients have reacted in several different ways. I've had ones who will just say, I just want you to tell me the answer. I just want you to tell me. And they will say it, and I'm holding the silence, and I'll just look at them like I'm not gonna tell you.
Misha, hello, Misha.
What is going on in the back?
I could not sit out. Just I had a client, so I couldn't come on, and then I'm like, listen, oh, they're going. Let me listen to them go.
That's
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Surprise guest.
I've had those moments where in the moment I'm like, they were asking me, they're trying to get me to give them the answers, and I will just do a gentle reminder, that's not what I'm here to do.
What about more of the like you're using like a little coaching technique or coaching, a little behind the scene coaching tool or skill that you're using? And do you explain that? Is it okay to explain that process? I think is what Tristan was trying to ask.
I think it's one thing to say like, okay, I want to ask you, would you like to explore best worst scenario kind of thing, right? Like I think if you introduce something like that, yes. But if we're saying, I'm going to ask you some open-ended questions, and you know what that's going to do? I think that is not ever going to fly.
I've got a word counter that shows that you're going to be talking 80% of the time and I'll be doing 20%. And if it goes over, I'll dim it down and you have to talk.
48 minutes and 1 hour is you, 12 minutes is me. I'm keeping track.
I guess to be concise, just try out the coaching skill or try out the technique and see how it goes without explaining the process. Because then it sort of takes you out of the coaching a little bit and you're more so explaining the coaching rather than doing the coaching.
Can I add to that, however?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tristan, I think it's a really important question. I think there's a differentiation before we start coaching, like the intake, the consultation, all about what coaching is going to be. We talk about the process. What is coaching? How might it help you? Why do I even do talk to my clients about, I'm going to try to use open-ended questions because my job is to create new thinking, help you create new thinking. So explaining the process at the beginning before you ever start coaching, that way when you get into the process, you don't really need to say anything. You just do your thing and do it well.
Misha, do you have any thoughts about concise reflection? I don't know how much of the coaching session you caught of Brooks.
Literally none. So I'm so
It was
bummed
great.
because it's recorded now. Maybe I get to use that as a performance evaluation. I'm just kidding. I'm not in charge of that. So when you say concise reflection, like repeating back every word that a client has given us?
Yes, like essentially like concise reflection within a session. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. You know, if it's a really long reflection, then we're kind of taking up the space. But if you can try to identify key points and still use the client's words, I think that's the most effective. Oftentimes it's hard. So what I will know is I will know there's a word coming to me, but I don't think it was your word. I'm going to say it. If it doesn't land for you, please let me know. And so I just kind of add that caveat when I'm doing a reflection. If I don't think it's going to be as accurate and concise, that gives them the space to say, yeah, that wasn't the word, but I like it. Or, yeah, that wasn't the word. No, that doesn't work at all. Yeah.
And I think there's important to differentiate. Like there is one time in our session where we want to keep it concise, but we also want to be a little more specific and a little more verbose. And that is then the rest of the session. Still not like the whole thing, but we're going to take it down. And that's when we're setting that contract, right? Like when we're setting our contract with our client and we repeat it back to them, we want to repeat back the bare minimum specifics of what that measure of success is, you know, what the expectation is, and we want to actually, and that's the one point where we can actually be a little more wordy in our reflection back. I think the rest of the time we want to be as concise as we possibly can, and maybe when we're circling back to the contract as well later on. Would you agree with that, Misha?
Yeah, I just saw our big Misha voice.
I know, my little Misha on my shoulder. I have a Misha on my shoulder in coaching sessions.
I heard you talking about that. Yeah, I think that, you know, again, you know, and this is the challenge between, are we doing the session for audio performance evaluation? Are we doing the session as a regular session with our clients? They should be about the same. Right. And the challenge is when you ask somebody what they want to talk, and I've talked with Jen about this too. Like, what's the difference between asking a client what you want to talk about this session and how we know you've achieved that by the end? Mm-hmm. Right. It can be very convoluted sometimes, but the idea is that when you get that information, yes, you want to give it all back to the client so that they know you heard them and that they can acknowledge that this is what we're focusing on. And so, yeah, that's going to take up some of those 12 minutes of the 60. But that even rings more true as to why in the Explore, we're not saying a lot. You don't have to explain and justify everything you ask your client. So I think it's just, you know, when people think about it, in the beginning of the session, we're going to really be honing in on the goal and what our success marker is for this session and what why it's important to them. And then we're just going to ask some questions and shut up so that the client has the space to evolve and discover and experience. Lisa, what would you add? Actually, I want to know what Lisa thought of the coaching session because I didn't see it.
It was fantastic. It gave such space and focus. I mean, I think it was very focused and gave such space for Jen to some of it was she was muddling through because she wasn't quite sure where she wanted to go. And as she muddled through, she came to a focus. So there was great space in that exchange, the concise reflection that didn't need to be elaborated on because Jen knew what she already said, right?
Yeah, she was fantastic at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the trap that a lot of clients get into is they reflect the entire session long.
Yeah.
Like, stop talking.
Yeah.
Oh
You
my
don't,
Oh my
you
God.
don't need to reflect every single thing the client said.
I was definitely guilty of that in the history of going through this process. I would, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, and PCC changed that. And then MCC, they even told me, even less, more, less.
Wow.
Yeah. And I want to make sure people know this is not a judgment of like, oh my God, if you're doing this, you suck. This is an awareness of, we want to find a really nice balance between open-ended questions and reflection, and even some closed-ended questions, right? Because even at the end, you could say, are you committed to that? Or you could say, how committed are you to that plan, right? But I think it's important when there's a nice variation of the techniques that you use, but the ultimate goal is to get the client to create new thinking so that they can walk away and feel excited and committed about their next steps.
Which is exactly what Brooke did with me.
Hey,
That
what
is
are your
exactly
next steps, Jen?
my next steps are to write about what I learned in our session, because I want to really carry it forward. So I want to anchor it in by writing about it.
And when are you going to do that?
When I clock out from my shift.
All right. And how long do you have to do that? How much time do you need in order to be able to do that?
30 minutes max, probably not even that long.
We're going to need you to work some overtime. So.
Beautiful. How exciting. Wow. I'm sorry I missed it. I'll have to go back and watch.
We've been doing every week this month has been coaching demos, like short coaching demos where we highlight a skill set. And I've been dying for you to join us.
Well, I'm glad you're still alive, because you would have been, that's not good that you were done.
I'm glad you made it to this one.
You're canceling next week, right? We're not on next week?
We are, because we are going to be visiting Lisa.
Yes.
So our next one is on the 3rd of September.
Yeah, we could do the 3rd of September if you want to join us.
I do. Yahoo! Wee!
Amazing.
Hey.
The four of us, Anthony, Brooke, me, and Lisa, are going to be in the same space together live for the first time for me.
Brooke, it's going to be like introducing our cats. Like, I'm going to have my hackles raised.
Which cat am I? Danger? Am I danger?
Well, I told Lisa I was going to try to crash the party, but it was just too short notice.
Oh, yeah.
Too short notice.
All right.
We had a lot of people watching. That's so cool. So Sue and Tristan were here, and everybody else who's going to watch later.
These are so come back for another demo in 2 weeks. Misha will be here. Misha is our amazing mentor, coach, human guide, little coach on my shoulder, wise voice.
You're so sweet.
So it will be
an
honor having her here. So
thank you. Well, I'm glad I popped in. It was a good 12 minutes. I feel fulfilled.
On September 3rd, does that mean, Misha, you're coaching? Are we still doing coaching skills on September 3rd?
I would so much rather be the coach than coachee.
Yeah, we can. I think we can do another week of coach skills. I think that would be fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to give it a shot.
Okay.
Brooke's got to go, so we got to wrap up this live.
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you guys for coming and watching us. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, and take our classes. The Coaching 101, Coaching 102.
And sign up for mentoring.
Sign up for mentor coaching. And do your performance evaluation and get accredited by the ICF for your ACC.
It's a one-stop shop.
Credential,
Also,
Anthony.
Tristan,
Credential.
we'll see you in 2 weeks. Tristan says he's coming back to watch. We'll see you in 2 weeks.